Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Conversations in American Democracy. As always, and I started to say earlier, when the flyer is sent out, then we have one topic, and of course 20 more topics come in. And I would like to discuss the revelations about Kristi Noem and immigration, and what else? Oh, the voucher, that we can solve the voucher problems. By the way, this morning, a school was enrolling and getting a voucher for kids who lived 130 miles away from the school here, and the 250-page bill in the Florida legislature to remedy that. It takes 250 pages. But I do want to talk about what was on the flyer. And so my question is when the President of the United States turns to a woman reporter and says, "Quiet, quiet, Piggy," what does that mean here in Flagler County and local government? And I want to talk specifically about the election for the chairman of the school board here in Flagler County, in which Will Furry, who's been on for 3.5 years, turned to Lauren Ramirez, who was a competitor of his, to be the chairperson of the, and was so condescending and arrogant and almost patted her on the head and said, "You're a little girl, you're not ready for this kind of thing." Is there a line that we can draw from the president's behavior down to Will Furry's behavior, and what is that line? And
they have a license to act up, is what it is.
Is that what the president's giving a license to everybody? Is it encouragement?
I would go back to the word normalization.
Yeah.
That what he's doing in a lot of cases is normalizing behavior that we would not accept as normal
Diminishing.
previously.
Yeah, diminishing other people, and is it women in particular? I was struck that Will Furry, was attacking a woman rather than, although there are only women. Will Furry is the only male. There are only 4 members on the school board at the moment until the governor appoints somebody to replace Derek Bars. So it's Will Furry and 3 women. But
part of his poor problem is he's not as educated as they are.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know any better.
That's it. By the way, okay,
That's a fact.
Well, it is. By the way, and one of the things, he's busy diminishing Lauren Ramirez, who was a qualified, credentialed and experienced educator. And his background, of course, is in real estate. And it doesn't stop it. But it didn't stop the president from saying what he said, to calling somebody Piggy, a woman reporter Piggy. And it just seems to me that we've created an environment, right, a normalization, and it's okay to do that kind of thing.
The environment, I think, a good example of it is, I think at the highest level, but in terms of what he and many MAGA-like Republicans want to create and continue, is this Department of War. And that you are a representative, and you're not there to negotiate with the Democrats. You're not there to try and solve a problem. You're there to own the libs. It's a war. No. And so it goes right down to that level of course I'm going to disrespect you. You're the guy on the other side with a gun. And you are the enemy. You're not someone who has America's best interests. You're evil and I'm good, and I will be condescending to you because of that. And I think that's the environment that they want to create, that antagonistic, warlike environment, as opposed to politicians, Congress coming together to try and solve problems.
He seems to specifically attack women.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, in other words,
this morning I was rewatching several clips of Margory Taylor Greene, because my wife had been out of the country and hadn't seen her on The View, and she wasn't caught up with, and she was asking me, what was the progression of change from where she was to where she is today? And it became clear for me anyway, when you look at this 3-week time period, that because of Epstein and because of other things, women, including Nancy Mace and others, and we just saw almost a unanimous vote in the House of Representatives, a lot of women, was that, and even in Marjorie's case, she goes, I'm tired of women being treated by the Republican Party, whether it's Piggy or
Lesser than.
even in our own mayoral issue where our own mayor had conversations inappropriately, it's on the record, with employees of the city, and then get called out for it and saying, this is disrespectful and you can't have this conversation, the trickle-down effect. So even she has said, part of the reason I'm done, part of the reason I'm walking away, part of the reason I'm doing this is because of the insults, minimization, and conversations that women in generally are being exposed to on an ongoing basis by a party that she feels is wrong.
But it's not just women, it's every race other than white.
I understand, but I'm just saying for her, she can no longer instead, I can no longer support what's going on with the Trump administration and how they're responding. So,
Mark, my counter to that is, I find it hard to believe that this is the moment she picked, because let us go back to his first term. Let us not forget, he was caught on a hot mic telling how he objectified, physically assaulted women because he felt he had the right to do so. And women felt, not all women, I apologize, some women of the Republican Party excused that as, what he classified as,
Locker room.
locker room talk.
Ken,
And then they accepted that.
Sure.
And then to go forward from that point, E. Jean Carroll comes out, catches him lying, and brings him to court. Jury convicts him of his actions, which further proves that it's not just locker room talk. He acts on those impulses, and Republican women still had no issue with that.
People forget that he is an adjudicated rapist.
Right.
right, but don't confuse my view, our view, long-term of what we know and see, the individual and his acts, with what drives someone else to finally have that aha moment. The point is, she claims she had an aha moment. For everyone, I mean, who's watching the revolution, the Ken's Burns revolution right
We
now?
tried to watch it, but we couldn't find the first episode.
My takeaway is how many Americans, British Americans, were in favor of staying loyal.
Yes, a lot.
And there was probably a majority. They had not experienced that aha moment. Our goal, and what we try to do, what I try to do, is help others have that aha moment of, wow, that's truth. We were just talking about truth. So I had seen all this, but my wife hadn't. And watching her, who would throw her under the bus tomorrow, walked away with, as a woman, and I'm not a woman, I can't speak for the experiences. I've never understood how a woman could hear that conversation going back 10 years and have any kind of positive experience with Donald Trump. But there are, and there do, and they, for whatever their reasons are.
Back then, I truly thought that was gonna cost him the election, and it didn't.
So,
He did too, that's why he wanted to.
I'm not sure it was an aha moment. I know what you're saying, and I would like to help other people have that aha moment too. I don't give Donald Trump credit for being very calculating. I think he just spouts, and then he just runs with it, or whatever it is. He's not, somebody once said that he's I don't know, somebody, a journalist once said that he's a bullshitter, not a liar. And there's a difference. He just spouts something and then tries to back it up.
He's a
I
liar.
think with Marjory Taylor Greene, I think she might be smarter than a lot of people give her credit for.
Well, she's very.
And I think she's calculating this is the time to make the break so that she can move up.
First of all,
So I
January
don't
5th,
know
she
that
gets
it was
her
an
pension.
aha
Right.
moment
And she
in
gets her
terms
medical
of
benefits.
Right.
my point of view as opposed to her point of view of Donald Trump. I think it was, it might have been an aha moment for her in terms of what's the best thing for Marjorie.
Well, you know,
Calculated moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll take it though. I'll take every, I don't care who you are, I'll take every Republican that goes,
Every defection. yeah.
you know,
I wanna
her aha
survive.
moment, her aha moment was when Trump dissed her and didn't put her in the cabinet
Yep.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She started calculating
Yeah.
from that moment forward.
I think you might have
And
to.
when all those women stepped up, she saw, this is my
After
opportunity.
the amount of support that she gave him.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
she's gone from space lasers to actually seeming like a normal person.
Rational person.
Right, yes.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take every Republican in Flagler County that wants to, for whatever reason.
I'll take it, but I won't believe it.
Me too.
Well, you can't trust her.
You don't have to
No.
believe it. If they can take the ballot and check a box
Yeah.
that's different than what they do, you take it, right?
Take it.
You would take every disgruntled Republican.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's the
my
first
goal.
in a line, she's the first in a line of deserters.
Yeah, well, that's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That
And that's
seems
why,
concurrent.
that's her significance, even if she's not fully aligned against Trump, she's taken a step, others are looking at her and will take a step.
There's an organization that is, for people that are peeling away from MAGA.
No.
It's a support group for former MAGA people, so.
That's
It
interesting.
does exist.
Is it
Yeah.
a
And it
12-step
has a lot of
program?
people.
Yeah.
Well, you know, she was, when he was running the number 1 or number 2 financial draw for the Republican Party.
Yeah, yeah.
It was either Trump or her, but those 2 names on a venue drew money.
Well, like Trump, I think she's an expert and a genius at attracting attention. Okay, not at legislating, not leading necessarily, but attracting attention. And that's-
So do you get back to your posed question
Yeah.
locally? And I saw comments through Flagler Live, many that were talking about the dynamics of the school board. And I would say 80% of them saw it for what it was. And
that was good.
exactly,
Yeah,
and you know, and saw it that it was a manipulation. And here's the real catch. Here's Will Ferry working and voting and fighting for a position he's not even running for.
Yeah.
He's running for something else. The futility of the extent of what he was trying to do. But I believe locally, we have big elections coming up locally, and I think that these are all going to reflect a lot of what is happening and what will be happening, hopefully for the future here.
Okay, so now we have to raise the question of Mark Kelly and the others, and that is the Democratic Party now the party of service people, of the armed forces, of veterans and so on, since they're putting them up front, and we can identify the Democratic Party with these people who were veterans and who are in the reserve, as opposed to the Republican Party that says, don't do your job as a military person, follow the orders that you're told even if they're illegal.
The Democratic Party, as far as military, both parties are of the military.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democrats have always embraced the military. Now, in past, they've had a little image problem with law enforcement,
Got to.
but as far as military, the Democratic Party is as patriotic as the Republican Party. if not more.
I'm talking about the eyes of the voters who are walking into Walmart right now.
Right.
Who, if they say, who's best for our armed forces, then won't they choose Republicans over Democrats?
Historically, the Republican Party and administration usually funds the military better.
Better.
I mean, Ronald Reagan gave us an incredible raise.
Well,
Back
back
in
when
the day.
Jimmy Carter was running, he gave the military a big raise trying to get their vote.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but before that, he wouldn't give them anything.
No, okay, but he was military also.
He was also
Yeah,
a
but-
naval commander.
Well,
Yeah.
well, he wasn't really a military guy. He was a nuclear guy.
Yeah, okay.
Nuclear sub-commander, wasn't he?
No, he was not a commander. He was just an
He
officer.
was,
Field?
he was, rose to a high position. But will we not, does the Democratic Party not need to make efforts to identify more closely with the armed services, with veterans and with the
Yes.
support and so on? And now are they not able to point to, so the Republican Party wants you to go ahead and follow illegal orders, and therefore they're not on your side, but we, the Democrats, are.
Well, I
Is
think,
that our job?
They could commercialize on that, but that's, I mean, the party, I think you're conflating public opinion with fact.
Well, but who votes? The facts don't vote, the public
Public
opinion don't.
opinion.
But okay, yes, I will accept that, that I'm conflating the two. But in reality, so that's why, Joe Scarborough, Good Morning Joe, says there's a big mistake on the part of the Republic to start an investigation, start an FBI investigation of Mark Kelly. It's only going to elevate the association of the Democratic Party with these military people and make veterans think twice about voting for Republicans.
Who wouldn't want to be associated with him?
Yeah,
He's a
absolutely,
hero.
Yeah.
He's a hero.
yeah.
And
A lot of people thought he should have
Sergeant-
been
yes.
Harris's running mate.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sergeant Bone Spurs is not a hero.
well, and it's clear to me, my
And
personal hearing everything was, as a military, and my wife who's never served, but had two children that served, people don't understand until you have that oath, as I know Mark and several others here, and how that could end up running over putting yourself in harm's way. I can remember clearly being taught numerous times annually, being explained what a lawful order and how the responsibility of, and I love what one of our Blue Forum participants, Jay Wagner, did a phenomenal research job of posting, and I did not know this, but the oath of office for an officer is different than an enlisted person. Not a lot, but a little different. But they both implied the responsibility to understand the limitations
So is
of
everything
what
else.
an order can look like. Nowhere in that video did anyone claim or state that an unlawful order had been given.
Nope.
They were just reminding service members that they had
A oath.
Yeah.
Oh.
check. And I had a conversation with someone recently, Republican individual, who was a huge Trump supporter. And I looked right at him and I said, so you're telling me that it would be acceptable if an enlisted member was given the order to shoot you and you're okay with it? It stopped him in his tracks because he had not realized how severe an order could be. Now, we've seen armed Marines and active duty service members in our streets. Have they been given an order to defend this building by shooting civilians? And could the guy I was talking to be that guy? You see, the understanding and misunderstanding of the whole scenario it was nothing more than a clarification of a reminder to active duty members, which we get often, that we have a responsibility to be the check and balance of an unlawful order.
Part of the blowback was they didn't give examples of unlawful orders.
Because there hadn't been.
Well, there have been, yes, there have
Well,
been.
but
The
not-
shooting of the Venezuelans.
Yeah.
By the way,
Votes in Caribbean.
and I think the proximate cause was the resignation of the admiral in charge of the Southern Command.
Yeah.
After
Right.
blowing these boats, 60 people now
Yeah.
have been blown out of the water for
Yeah,
generating them.
Shooting
but
reporters,
in defense
shooting
of-
preachers.
Yeah, but in defense of history, there hasn't been a declared war since World War II.
Right.
Korean
Yep,
conflict,
yep.
Vietnam conflict.
Conflict.
17 years in the Gulf was never been
Declared war.
declared war.
Okay, so I can speak for Vietnam. Certainly, there is an authorization based on the Tonkin Gulf Resolution. There was an authorization where Congress was involved.
Right.
But here, Congress is being, here we go again. Congress is being cut out, and Congress doesn't seem to care, and Congress
Yeah.
doesn't want to do its
Oh,
job.
Obama used
Reagan-
drones.
Reagan-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Every
Reagan
day.
did that.
All I'm saying is, the perception of what we as citizens feel is legal or not is inappropriate, is more of a moral view of, and I'm with you, I think blowing up unknowns out in the, I just watched Nuremberg,
Oh, the new one or no?
the new one, which by the way was only here for a week, comes to tell you what happened.
Yeah.
And every one of those insane German people said, "Oh, just follow orders."
Followed orders.
And I was
I
like,
think
6 million people
Yeah.
would tend to disagree, but.
Right, you've been patient with that now.
I hit 3 key points. We have to express that by giving an order, that the actions of that order are hold responsibility. And that's what we need to talk about and send that message out. And an example was I was sitting with a Vietnam vet and we talked about the situation where that officer was flying in on a chopper and he's seen the slaughtering of civilians. And he flew down there and he was an officer who challenged the other officer and said, "Who gave this lawful order?" And that officer went through scrutiny through the military, even though he justified the actions of what was taking place was unauthorized, killing civilians in a village, okay? That was one example. And I had an example, but I was in a union concept where I actually took my assistant chief to arbitration. He gave me an order, I followed it, but I could have lost my life, and I brought it to charges. Okay, now in the realm of the thing, in front of the city, I said I do not want him to lose his job. I don't think, I think I'm here to address the issue that when he gives an order, he has to make sure, and he gives that order, the actions that follow that order has to be legal and safe. And we're forgetting what the orders mean today. We're getting sloppy on everything, on everything. And even Congress, like you just mentioned, Congress is getting sloppy. And it started, and that's when, like you said, World War II was the beginning of where they gave their powers away.
Yeah.
Okay, and we continue having these nonsense wars. He's talking about going to war now with Venezuela,
Yeah.
without Congress's permission, It's just getting out of hand.
Yeah, no question. Now, what would you say?
I do want to throw in another side of this, but first of all, I would say that in terms of an illegal order or not an illegal order, what's going on in the Pacific, in Venezuela and so forth, I don't know when did we decide that we execute drug dealers?
Yeah.
In the United States, if you go to trial and you're convicted of smuggling in 100 million pounds of coke, they put you in jail. Nobody kills you, okay? So even if they are 100% guilty
They still,
of what they're doing,
they still have the
they
right.
have, there should be
Due
some due
process.
process or whatever else. So in my mind, now, this is where, in my mind, that's an illegal order. It should have been refused. However, if you are in New Mexico running that drone, you don't know why it's not like it's not like the lieutenant that says to you, kill that civilian. Now you've got a very direct relationship with the order and what happens from that order. But I feel bad for that drone pilot because he doesn't have the data. He doesn't have those guys could be threatening other American military people right at that time. And if he doesn't pull that trigger, those people could be in danger. That's on that side. So on one hand, I absolutely believe that illegal orders have been given. However, that hasn't been proven, and that's up for discussion, clearly. And I would acquiesce, I would agree with the other side that says, who are all out of shape about this video. I loved it, okay? I celebrate these guys for making this video. However, I have heard them say the video implies that illegal orders were given, and it does.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the video does imply.
Wait a minute, how does it imply it? Because they only state,
I didn't.
from what I saw,
I
they
know exactly
say
what
that
they
you
stated.
cannot, follow.
Why didn't they warn them to be careful about fully cooking their food because they could get something? Why did they choose that?
It implies that there may be illegal orders.
You know,
Okay,
and hang on,
fine.
Ryan. Did you go to an elementary school that forbid bringing guns to school?
I
I
don't, oh,
Yeah, you.
No,
Nobody thought
I
of
don't
I
think.
never thought-
It wasn't a
I-
discussion.
So
That
why
wasn't
is-
considered it.
So
No,
why,
I never
yeah,
considered
why is the issue raised? Because it is a problem. And so why is this issue raised? Because it's an implicit statement that it is an issue. Yeah, I mean, I got expelled for chewing gum in school. Bringing a gun to school, and teenagers say, "Oh, you didn't have a rule about bringing guns to
Yes,
school."
to
I
school.
said, nobody ever thought of bringing a gun. But so nobody ever thought of disobeying or of having to follow an illegal order. The implication, I believe, is. And by the way, let's say it on top of that, of course, is the revelation this morning that Christy Noam knew the court ordered the planes taking the people to the
Oh,
prisoners'
that's
house,
right.
to turn around. And now there was an order, and Christy Noam illegally said, nope, they gotta go and take that. And there too, the rule of law and conscience and morality, I'll hasten to add. Did you want to say, you were saying something, or no? You were, we've gone through 20 subjects
Yeah.
since you,
Well, I have something to say. but
okay,
that's
go ahead and then
not
Ray.
Exactly.
you were waiting.
Well, I back up a little bit when we're talking about things changing. To me, 70 years ago when McCarthyism was stopped, when one person said, have you no sense of decency? The problem is you can't legislate decency, and indecency is what has become normalized. I mean, if the new mantra was, you have no decency, but we can't change society to become overnight decent.
Yeah.
But I think people are starting to appreciate decency,
Yeah.
and that is what is giving some people an aha moment, of decency.
Yeah.
The thing that I keep thinking about is that the person who has to carry out the order, he's probably intimidated to even check whether it's a lawful order.
Well, and that's why these guys got on the air and said, you need to know whether this is illegal. I think the implication is you need to know what a legal order is and what not an illegal order is. Anyway,
This is only actually going through the realms, I don't know if you were aware of that, but there was an admiral that resigned
Yes.
his position because he dozed. It was a-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He
unfortunately,
resigned.
he had to carry it out, okay, and then
Yeah.
he resigned following after that,
Yeah.
because after he looked at the intelligence parts of it, which he is an admiral, he gets access to that. He knew he was in trouble,
And
so
I-
he resigned.
I
So
don't-
if
I
he
don't know
goes
his
to
name, but
testify.
we should
yeah.
know his name. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, we should know his
we
name,
should-
but
he's
You're
the,
right,
he's
you're
the
right.
hero, and then
Yeah, he is.
unfortunately that.
And then we had a
John
judge that
Reagan,
just resigned.
Who,
The
pardon?
judge that just resigned, he was a Republican judge, I think he was down in the southern states, he resigned because he cannot handle the pressure from the
Yeah.
administration that wants him to follow their orders,
Right, yeah.
as a judge.
And by the way, something somebody said will, the idea of decency, when we get our electric bills starting in January, I understand, but then if you go to, and just go to our representative, Greco, and what's the guy's name?
Leaks.
Leak. I was going to say leak. And look at the number of campaign contributions, and this is a public issue. It's on Ballotopedia. Look at how much campaign money they accept from FPL, Florida Power and Light. Decency has gone from that as well. That solves that issue. That I don't know whether that exhausts that issue. But what else is in the news that's bothering
Well,
me
you
again?
brought up decency. I wanted to, after the Nuremberg,
Mm.
highly recommend you watch it. Phenomenally done. Poses a lot of today's questions in the 40s. When we talk about decency, for me, I don't understand, and no one's been able to present, how many Americans volunteered or were drafted that fought on foreign soil for decency. Whether it be Korea and the advancement of North Korea, communism, Vietnam, the same scenario. The fighting that was in the Gulf, where we were trying to support democracy or the view under dictatorship, and yet we sit by and we're watching what's going on in Ukraine. And the reason it really came to mind for me was my wife had just spent 3 weeks in Norway with relatives, and she was talking with them, and their number one issue, their number one fear is Putin. All of those Scandinavian countries and those European countries that have numerous times lost their freedom and been attacked by a tyrant dictator who wants to grow his country, and the only people that came to the rescue inevitably was the US, and we're doing nothing to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from people that live it every day going, we're 500 miles away from fighting. She was in Budapest, Hungary. That was like 90 miles away from where the fighting's going on. And these people are living their lives, walking around, but in the back of their mind, everyone are going, are we next? What are we missing in being decent and understanding that as a world, and there's a great line in that movie in which the justice who was presenting the argument said, there are no more small conflicts on this planet. Every war will turn into a world war if we let it. And so it blows my mind that America is sitting here and not coming to the rescue of a democracy that needs our help. And we're not.
Yeah.
America,
What are your-
the people in America don't know everything that's going on because the media
Right.
doesn't tell them.
Right.
But the people of America's House has authorized funds to support Ukraine, but they've been stopped by the president, who in the Constitution has no powers to control the funding and
But they've
expenditure
given
and
him their
appropriation.
power.
Exactly, they've abdicated their power.
Yeah.
Even outside of decency, which I think is the reason that we should be supporting the Ukraine, a couple of angles. Number one, I think that, I used to think that Putin had something on Trump, but it doesn't matter what you have on Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, how many videos and off-mic things have we seen? So I'm really beginning to think that it's a profit center for Trump. Trump sees he wants to be a dictator. He sees another dictator that he can make a lot of money with. So as opposed to opposing this dictator, he's being friendly with him so that he can continue his business relationship. The amazing thing is, it was, even in terms of America first, you're America first. If you look at what we did in Afghanistan, Russia was fighting against the Afghans. We knew the Afghans didn't love us. But Russia was bleeding. And so we gave them, and we gave them, and we supported them with money, with weapons, and continued to buy their drugs, and made sure that their drug fields weren't bombed. Why? Because Russia was bleeding, and it was a great U.S. position to be in. What changed? Russia is bleeding in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
What changed? Do we want to confront Russia directly, or have the Europeans confront them directly, or could we just go with this third party and keep this thing going just from an American self-interest point of view, not from the decency point of view, which I think is the major one, but from this other angle, shouldn't we be trying to keep this thing going as long as we possibly can?
Well, that's it. America First says in 10 years we're going to be over there fighting unless we stop it now. Just like if we stopped Hitler in 1938, that Chamberlain hadn't had given in to Hitler. Anyway, right?
Yeah. The problem is this whole Ukraine thing, the way I perceive it, is it's a gentleman's war. Okay, the very wealthy are all making their money. Okay, and I'm tired of hearing when they try and they say we're going to pull more sanctions, and then England says we're going to pull more sanctions, and all our allies say they're going to pull more sanctions. They should do extreme sanctions right from the beginning, and this would have been ended right away. But they don't want the Congress to stop because that's where their money is. And that's the whole idea of why these wars continue. It's the commerce. I mean, look at the oil trade going on. I mean, Venezuela is all about the oil, okay? Because Venezuela is now going to sell their oil to Russia, and China, and that's what it's all about. It's about the commerce.
Do you think if the NATO,
Yes.
and this was a conversation that my wife was being exposed to, if NATO says enough, and they just flood Ukraine with 100,000 troops, what would Putin do? I don't believe he has the backing or the manpower that thinks that he's going to continue. The big fear is, do you think he would go nuclear? Because he's threatened to do that. But that's an end. That's the last card in your deck to play. Well, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
but what happened at the end of World War II in Europe? Hitler was still, to the very last, we defended, don't surrender,
Yeah.
and you're imputing to Putin normal human behavior, understanding emotions and reason, and I don't think that's.
But he is a bully, and he needs to be treated like a bully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're not treating him like a bully.
And if it's not treated now, 10 years from now, his successors will be this, and we'll have a worse problem as we saw in World War II.
Well, you know, there's the other side of that. If you look at the psychology of what's going on with Putin also, we're only looking at the aspect is we got to save Ukraine. In Putin's view, everything depends on him getting this land, taking them, and showing the dominance over this country. Because he's not only just fighting Ukraine, he's fighting internal turmoil. Because if he had not imprisoned that last presidential candidate against him, he was going down. He had oligarchs that were already, remember the one that was turning against him that was running the military, sudden plane crash?
Yeah.
He has internal problems in that country that we're not privy to as a public, but is actually happening. So he's fighting an external war, he's fighting to keep his power, and money is, capitalism is the only thing that's keeping him afloat right now.
He, like Trump, will never have enough.
No,
Okay?
that's the truth.
Some people around this table may say, I have enough, but Putin and Trump will never have
They
enough.
don't know. They don't know.
Go, Al, and then Rick.
Mark mentioned the media, and we used to have regulations that ensured that the news was fair and balanced. And I believe that that kind of ruling was stripped from the FCC at some point, And that
Fairness
I
The
think
Fairness Doctrine.
is the turning point
Reagan.
Yeah.
in keeping our information
Yeah.
fair and balanced, and it's
True.
not anymore. So pockets of conspiracy and so on, and it developed OAN and Newsmax and certainly Fox, and people getting their information there, it's just not fair and balanced.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's it. And most of us tend to live to watch either Fox, nobody around this table, I presume, or CNN or MSNBC, and we don't take a varied look and see what and get other opinions and so on. Yeah, but it's a real weakness.
Well,
So, yeah.
if you wanna see an example of what pure, unabashed capitalism can do to one of your principal rights by your forefathers, freedom of the press, the money that
Yeah.
now controls the press dictates what you hear, see, and know.
Yeah.
If I'm the head of a corporation that monitors or controls the news, you're only gonna hear the news that I want you to hear. And you have no other sources. Unless you have that one, we don't have Dan Rathers, Cronkites anymore, that they're out there just giving you the facts and the news as it is. We now have what's in the White House, influencers, podcasters. Like you said, where's the fair and balanced in that? The fact is, the money's dictating what you know.
And the first time one of those media outlets step a bit out of the margin, they're having to pay Trump billions of dollars just to keep on
Right.
the air and not lose their license.
Yeah.
So
Right,
that
that's
money
the
controls
acquiescence.
the news.
Yeah, acquiescence of CBS Paramount.
I wanna tell you all history here. The money, capitalism, at the end of World War II, people were getting rich. And they decided, oh, as long as we have a wars going on. So at the end of World War II, we were friends with Ho Chi Minh. And he stored munitions and supplies in Hanoi Harbor in preparation for Korea. Years before Korea started, because they already planned it. Korea died down in New China. It all shifted there. Kennedy was killed for that, because he signed an executive order a month before he was assassinated to pull all our troops out. Okay, after Vietnam, where'd it go? Middle East. They keep having a war somewhere in the world, so they keep making money. They never have enough.
Yeah.
They never have enough. And it costs innocent people lives just so they can get rich. And so they keep the world in turmoil. That's how capitalism and money is ruining the world.
Military industrial
Complex,
complex.
yeah. But you had the merchants of death in World War I, and in the Spanish-American War, you had William Randolph Hearst, yellow journalism, promoting war, so you could sell more papers and so on. It's a story as old as newspapers and media are concerned. So let's switch gears for just a moment, because this also dropped this morning. A private school, religious school in Lake City, Florida, was receiving voucher money to send 70 students, so they had an enrollment of 70 students. Even with all that voucher money, $8,000 I think a student or something like that, they went bankrupt. And so they transferred their vouchers to a school in Brookville, 130 miles away, Brookville, Florida, 130 miles away. And so the school in Brookville was, the kids from Lake City went into the public schools, but the voucher money didn't follow the kids. The voucher money was transferred by the school that went out of business to a school, Little Angels of Prayer or something like that, in Brookville, and they were receiving 70 times $8,000 a year to enroll students who weren't in the school. And so, yeah, okay, and so State Representative Don Getz, I think he's related, is he Matt Getz's brother?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, has proposed a fix It's a 250-page bill, one of the largest bills ever introduced into the legislature to fix the voucher program. Can the voucher program in fact be fixed, or you don't think nothing will help?
No.
Yeah. So is this an opportunity to do away with the voucher program
I'm
and
still
say,
trying to figure, you went bankrupt, but you had 70 times how many?
8,000.
78 times 8,000, yeah.
8,000
5
to
million,
transfer
600.
to another school. Then you're not bankrupt.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's.
It's a con.
Yeah,
It is a con.
It is a con. By the way, one of the other schools, and perhaps both, I have to go back and read the article, I read very quickly this morning, never passed a fire inspection. And never passed a health department inspection for an adequate bathroom or so on. In fact, I was told once upon a time that there was a school with vouchers and the kids used a 5-gallon, then for the toilet they used a 5-gallon bucket. I don't know if that's
Did anybody
true.
actually see the school?
Yeah, well, that's by the way. So the question is, and why it takes 250 pages of legislation is, where is this money going? There's an issue that you brought up that this was something pushed by private schools, primarily religious schools, to get government money into private schools, and common sense and due diligence and went out the window.
They were all absent.
Yeah.
So, right on this subject,
Yeah.
that Oklahoma is that push for the
Religious.
Catholic school. What was the name of that school?
I don't remember now. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And they probably would have gotten it, except one of our Supreme Court justices recused herself, and there was only 8 judges, and it went 4-4.
Yeah.
That's how close it was in terms of creating a religious voucher-supported school in Oklahoma. Well, I can't
And it
believe
was
this.
It was a charter school, I think, right?
It was a charter school.
Yeah, it wasn't
Charter
voucher, so it was
No, it
direct
wasn't.
tax money. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. Lo and behold, a Jewish organization from Miami has applied to create a similar school in Oklahoma. And of course, we'll have 9 judges to hear this one. And it should be very interesting. The most shocking thing to me is, where the hell are we gonna get Jews in Oklahoma?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't really, but whatever.
Because
I think it's a virtual school.
Well, it may be a virtual school, but it's run by business people who
Right,
want to
yes,
not
yes.
by anybody who has anything or cares about
No,
education.
no, it's a business venture.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
business venture.
That they want supported by the Oklahoma Congress.
Yeah, and so that's, once again, we
Church and
elect
state.
people, as a separation of church and state, but we elect people to go to the legislature, and do they pay the least bit of attention about what's happening to our money and where our tax dollars are going?
Well, you need to be aware, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. When you go down to pay your taxes, which I just did last week, for your property taxes, the largest amount of those property taxes are to education. The second largest budget item, which is public record, here in Flagler County, $17 million of our money is going to the Flagler County voucher system. Second only to the maintenance and structure and funding of the school itself, including pay, salaries. Second only to what the public school needs, $17 million. And it's mandated by the state. The school board, they have no say in it. And our own county school board superintendent admitted that there's well over 100 that they know of already of young people whose family or private schools received vouchers that are now in our public school and no recourse to get the money back. And they know it. And Representative Leaks admitted it on Flagler Radio that there are problems with the process.
Our state legislature is so foolish in some of the rules and laws they make. You know, just driving here, she noticed how wide on Whiteview they made that sidewalk. Do you know why? Because the Florida state legislature will pay money towards a sidewalk, but only if it's 12 feet wide. You can't have an 8-foot one, or they won't pay for it. You can pay for it yourself. But we want it 12. How stupid is that?
Wait.
Well,
So what's that 4 feet doing?
By the way, it's designated as a trail. We have this right here
Oh.
on highways. It's not a sidewalk,
Not
It's
a
a it's actual trail.
And as a
But they
trail-
want it 12 feet wide instead of 8 feet
Well,
wide.
that's trails are 12 feet wide, and here along Pine Ridge Parkway, from one end to the other. I used to bike it all the time, 8 miles, about 4 miles each way, and but that's a trail, so that comes under a different.
But the
This
point
is the way the
is,
government works.
but we normally have 8-foot wide trails, and sometimes 6. But now the new rule is, we'll help pay for it only if it's 12.
So it takes state.
Well,
state money.
well, with e-bikes and all the other stuff that's going on,
Yeah, that's-
I'm not sure that that's a crazy
Yeah,
regulation.
yeah.
Well, it is
One
crazy
guy, I
regulation,
don't-
because they need to regulate the e-bikes better, but they're too stupid to do that.
Well, yeah.
But the thing
I
is,
grew
they
up-
can't enforce their
When I grew up, you
regulations.
couldn't ride a bike on the sidewalk, never mind an e-bike, so I mean,
You got bike lanes.
Well, you know,
On the
and
sidewalk?
they have
No,
signs
no,
that says
yeah.
no motorized vehicle, but an e-bike is a motorized vehicle.
not
Put a
according
bike
to
lane
the
on the
state.
side, on the
Yeah.
Well,
trail.
because the state is whacked.
I think,
They haven't thought of
I
that.
think, I think it's three horsepower. If it's under 3 horsepower,
It's so
it's
many,
not a power.
it's watts,
Yeah.
it's 750 watts or something.
Ezra Klein had a couple of interesting things I'm just gonna blurt out here.
Please.
The interesting idea was that we used to be the party of the blue collar people when Republicans used to be all the white professionals, and it's completely flipped at this point. And so the question was why and this and that, and how can we get some of this back? And as an English teacher, one of the things that was mentioned was, it was Fareed Zakaria actually who said it, we have to speak. We don't want to speak like the elite. We can be the elite. We can be the professionals and the educated ones, but you have to speak in a manner that everyone can understand. And he didn't use these examples, but he said that. But I would come up with the idea of undocumented versus illegal. Oh no, they're not illegal, they're undocumented. Bullshit. They're illegal. They came here illegally. Now we could have a talk about what we want to do about it, you know, whether they should have due process, whether, you know, whatever else. They're illegal, okay? You're looking at a very progressive liberal here. I think our language is screwed up on these issues. Another one is homeless versus unhoused.
Yes.
They're not homeless. Democrats will tell you that the unhoused need to. Blue collar people are listening to this kind of language, and that's exacerbating our problem with communicating with them. I thought that was very, now once again, this is the take of an English teacher. I'm sensitive to the way we speak to each other, and I thought they were very, very valid points. Now, while we may have become the party of educationally elite, we still should speak in a manner that someone who didn't go to college for 4 years can be comfortable with.
And read Aldous Huxley, and read 1984. The control of the language is what does it absolutely.
I thought that was interesting. Oh, and someone else brought up McCarthyism here, and we were talking about education before. If you take a look at the Heritage Foundation, I don't know if it made it actually into the Phoenix document, might be in there. You don't want your school talking about McCarthyism. That's woke. He was doing the right thing, fighting the communists that were there, and that McCarthyism is a woke idea that all of you liberal progressives have now. Want to talk about rewriting history and decency? I thought that was an interesting one. And the Heritage Foundation is right out there with it. they like McCarthy, and they like, you know, and they reject the idea of the term McCarthyism as a negative term.
And that's another issue.
Yeah.
People misuse the term woke. So
The
most
point
people
of-
have no idea what it means.
Like Jesus was woke.
Yeah, it was.
He
But
was
I-
aware of
yeah.
social issues.
There seems to be a concerted effort to associate, to have people standing at the cemeteries in Normandy and talking about Antifa. And I think there's a beginning to reclaim Antifa. I'm a proud Antifa. My father fought in World War II, was a proud Antifa. And what's wrong with being Antifa? We immediately, once it came out like all the other, I don't want to use the word diarrhea, whatever comes out of Trump's mouth.
Hate speech, yeah.
Hate speech and well, okay, let's call it hate speech. That we assume that, Antifa is terrible and so on. We should stand up and say, no, Antifa is good.
Anti-fascist.
Woke, yeah, woke is good. So if you're not Antifa, does that
Aren't
mean
the
you're
Republicans more woke than anybody right now? I mean, every little drop of a dime, they're complaining and
Yeah.
everything's their hair is on fire. That is, to me, the most woke.
Right, and by the way, just as they have also grabbed onto the idea of the American flag, if you see a Jeep running around or a pickup truck with a flag, you automatically assume it's a Republican, and we have lost that as well, and we need to stand up and say,
That's
no,
right.
we're
Us
we're
too.
woke, we're Antifa, and so.
I saw one recently that was great. I think I'm going to get one for my car, and it was an American flag. It wasn't huge or anything. It was on the back window of a pickup truck, and above the flag it said "Proud American," and at the bottom of it said "Anti-Trump."
Yeah, good, I like it, yeah, I would like that too. Ray, and that's it, we'll finish up.
The good thing for me for this past week was actually the mayor from New York being aggressive
Yeah, yeah.
and making an appointment to see the president.
Yeah.
And it went to his side. There was no bad talking from the president, and he actually was asked a question, would you actually go visit New York and do business in New York? And he basically said yes, he would. So it changed the whole realm, and that's where the Democrats have to start. We need to start engaging, and we don't. We're too polite, we want to try to show the niceness of our party, but they declared war now. The Department of Defense has changed the Department of War, and we need to go to war. I mean, it appears to me they actually want us. It appears to me they want to create another civil war, okay? And it's not working. It's not engaging right away. But there could be a moment where something happens that engages the American people into a civil war, and that's what scares me, because it only takes that slight moment. And I'm worried it's going to actually happen on a college campus again, where college kids are going to be shot because they protest.
Like what we-
Yeah.
Well, you know, the fear of a civil war is there.
Yeah, it is.
But I've been telling people, look, because they complain, well, look, he's doing this. I says, the quicker he does stuff, the quicker it's going to crumble.
It does.
The more he does at one time, people will see that he's lunatic, and it'll start crumbling, and it's starting to crumble.
Well,
Start.
if you,
No, go ahead.
but if you'll notice, our courts are holding.
Yeah.
Barely.
Just
Yeah,
that
they're
our
not.
courts
But they're
are
holding.
holding.
Even
When you
Trump
can get in
appointed,
there, he's
even Trump
moving.
appointed judges.
The
yeah.
lower courts.
Lower courts
Yeah.
are
Certainly not the
holding.
Supreme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, yes, I feel what you're saying there,
Yeah.
but I hope cooler heads will prevail and allow us to
And that's
work
part
the
of,
system.
that's part of what's helping it crumble, is the judges are holding
Judges
the
are
line.
holding it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, it is amazing when you hear a judge cite Judge Cannon's decision on not prosecuting Trump
Yeah.
because Jack
Smith.
Smith
Yeah.
had not been
Confirmed by the Senate, yeah.
selected appropriately, that she's using that decision to throw this other
Other
case.
gal out.
So it does come full
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
We do tend to learn these lessons slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're,
Good point.
It will be interesting to see whether he can pull off, oh boy.
yeah,
don't get old.
No.
The 60 vote in Congress,
Yeah.
what?
Oh, the
A
filibuster.
The filibuster.
Filibuster, yeah.
He's got some traction on moving against that. It looks like most of the Republicans are saying they know that they use it more than
It's
we
gonna be
do.
used against
Right.
us.
Yeah,
Well, I
so,
They're
so,
afraid of
so
that.
the ones that are smart are saying, don't know about
That
this,
would-
you know.
that- for me,
But
that would be the
That's gonna be
best.
an interesting issue.
Yes, I
That would
agree.
be the best, for me personally, that would be the best outcome of this whole drama, at least for the next 10 years. Because for one, without the filibuster,
Or they're done.
if we get
Yeah.
51 senators
Yeah.
and the House,
He
Yeah,
gone.
and the Senate and the.
he's
He's
gone.
gone.
But we also put 3 more justices on the Supreme Court
Yes,
instantly.
right.
And we should
Because that's
impeach
forever,
the-
so.
And
We
that's-
should impeach the justices that lied to Congress when they said that they would respect precedent,
Right.
Yeah.
and then they didn't.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So,
absolutely. they
I'm
were-
all
And it
for
is
it.
an impeachable offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lying to Congress.
At any rate.
Well, they wanted to get Comey for it.
Yeah.
We'll continue the discussion around this table next week, and please join us. In the meantime, have a happy Thanksgiving, and let's give thanks for, we still have much to give thanks for,
We
although
sure do.
we're gonna tear our hair out and worry about the bad things that are happening. They are far outweighed by the good things that are happening. And one of the good things is that we get together and talk about these things and can talk about these things amongst people who we can be frank with and open with. So thank you for being here. See you next week.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh.